Thank you, Whittaker. We are glad that you are here for our regular Sunday service at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus. We start our services by lighting our chalice, which symbolizes reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also justice, compassion, and love. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus. We are an inclusive, spiritual community of people who support each other in their personal searches for truth and meaning. I'm Ron Ussery, once again this week, your volunteer service leader. We'll move on to today's offering. We are grateful to be here now. We are grateful for the volunteers who serve us every week to make this service possible. We are grateful for all the members who work behind the scenes with small groups and for the outreach programs we offer to ourselves and to our community. We support our community as contributors in our own way. You can mail your offering to UUFC at P.O. Box 698, Fortson, Georgia, 31808, or you can use PayPal. To use PayPal, go to paypal.com, click the Send Money tab, and put as the recipient our email address, uufcga@gmail.com. Whittaker and Thomas Trinh will now play for us the offertory. The offertory is, I can read my writing here. Well, I've got it right here. It is The Lady and the Dragon by Rafe Vaughan Williams. Whittaker Locke on the piano, Thomas Trinh on the English horn. Our speaker today is Connie Ussery. Connie hails from Twin City, Georgia. But except for a year or so in New York City, she's made Columbus her home for over 50 years now. She was raised Southern Baptist and has always sung in the choir. In fact, she was our first choir director at UUFC. I mentioned John Nix earlier in my singing. 20 years or so ago, our choir consisted of Connie, John Nix, Dr. Mary Schley, and me. Until John implored me to stand on the other side of the room or quit the choir because I was making him sing off key. And I'm sure that's accurate, although I wouldn't know. I don't have an ear for that sort of thing. Connie worked in the Muskogee County school system for over 30 years, teaching English and humanities for 17 years. During our stint in New York, Connie taught humanities at a yeshiva in Elizabeth, New Jersey. That's a whole other story. Upon returning to Columbus, after her husband's job ended rather abruptly when his employer was bought out and merged into a conglomerate, Connie returned to the school district, but soon made a switch from grading essays and dealing with parents over those grades, and she became a school media specialist. She was asked to start at the first library at the new Midland Middle School, and then do the same thing at the new Northside High School a few years later, from which she ultimately retired. She's a board member here at UUFC, serving as secretary. She has also been programs director, and unofficially, she is the fellowship's librarian. She is a former president of the Honorary Society Delta Kappa Gamma, and a board member and webmaster for CALL, the Columbus Academy for Lifelong Learning. She competed in the city's champion trivia team with CALL, where a team from CALL is usually the city champion. And in the year that her team won the title, they had to beat out the other CALL team in a tiebreaker. Connie led the local Mensa chapter for many years, where she met her husband. She is also a Fulbright Hayes Scholar, having toured South Africa in, what year, Connie? 2001, with a group of educators, which included our own John Studstill. In fact, our first visit to the UU facility over on Double Churches was when Connie and John were asked to present a program to the UU group on their South Africa experience. She also traveled to Kyoto, Columbus's sister city, representing the city of Columbus in 2003. She's also an active performing musician, singing for the trio, The Sweet Tea. Connie?
Wow, that about covered it. Thank you for having me here today. And I've been working on this program for about 2 years because I got really curious about the Coexist stickers I was seeing around, even in our parking lot. And it set me to thinking about this oasis of peace from all the storms that roil around us. And I wondered if the people who drove those other cars that didn't park here also felt that oasis feeling sometimes when they're around other people. If they saw those cars in front of them, how it affected them. But what are those stickers asking of us really, and the people we love and long to connect with? Just for the next few weeks, how could we remind ourselves and everyone that peace is possible? Could we put Coexist on our Meta page? Used to be Facebook, but now it's Meta. Could we find cards to mail out during this holiday season to people we usually send cards to or who send them to us? And this time of year, remind us that there's a big message we all need to share. How about having place cards around the Thanksgiving dinner table? And it could say, Coexist Beverly, Coexist Randy, Coexist James Edward. And that's where it would end, because James Edward would probably say something about like, you coexist and I'll see what that looks like. Jim Ed is funny that way, and he gets his point across just as we do. So a lot of bumper sticker information is more about the person driving the car than any message to the masses. And you've seen the cars with 2 or 3 stickers. Sometimes they're all over the place. And I like knowing whether your sticker family has cats or dogs. And I like to know that they've turned into zombies. I feel that way too sometimes, and I can connect there. I like to know if you're a quilter or a marathoner. And if people put a sticker on their car to convey a message, then they must feel really strongly about it. It must define their values, their tribe, an important part of their identity that they feel compelled to share. They select these messages. And our old 1984 Vanagon that my mom drove around Georgia while I was on the bike ride, she'd meet me 60 miles down the road, it had a sticker that said, share the road. And it had a sticker that said something about some place we'd been to. I don't know, it's probably in Alaska. It said, arrive a friend, leave a stranger. I've got that backwards. Which is probably more likely in some situations. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Arrive a stranger, leave a friend. I knew I didn't read this word for word, I'd mess up. There's just so much to say in so little time, and these stickers, these colored ribbons help. They represent our struggles, our victories, and our hopes. And some of us find a lot of strength in sharing those messages. When I'm stuck in traffic sometimes, I find myself changing lanes when I see a lot of stickers. I want to pull forward a little to read the fine print. What else can I discover about you and your tribe where we Venn diagram merge each other a little bit, Mr. Stranger? I want to find that out. But when I drive up to park in a pasture, as we did the other day with friends and family, extended family, I have to look at those stickers a little. They've become more important than ever in a way, because tribes have become aggressive in devotion to causes I don't always understand, and ideas have crept into my psyche. They leave a little anxiety if I'm not really careful and tuned into that. Because what might trigger someone who thinks differently from me, and how would I handle that if it did? I sometimes picture that first course at Thanksgiving dinner turning into a word salad of media memes. That's just me overthinking things as I do, but that's my anxiety creeping in. And I've heard from some of you that you feel it yourselves. We're coming out now to funerals and to weddings and to gatherings, and that's becoming more and more that practice after kind of being in hiding and in quarantine, where things can kind of spin around and things can change in our thinking. But still, the one meme I find most interesting is the Coexist sticker. And you may have one yourself. And I thought I understood the symbols in it until I read more about it. And here's the one that most of us see nowadays. There's some fine print under there. It says, it's from Peacemonger, and profits help fight hunger, fascism, and social injustice. I couldn't find on that website just how the benefits of proceeds from these sales actually did that. But reading more about it, I feel pretty confident that they do. This is the Peacemonger page, and it says, we're all peacemongers. Peacemonger says, if you're on this page, we share a hope for peace. We capitalize the word peace. It doesn't say we capitalize on it, but that's kind of what's happening too, throughout our site, since we have something of a reverence for the concept. We understand human history is marked by war, conquest, outrageous interventions by government and military forces in sovereign nations with no regard for accountability for human life, limb, or property. And this is from the website. In spite of overwhelming odds, we all have a voice and an ability to do something. Having an artistic background, a computer, and a few friends, Peacemonger began as my voice, and I'm Jerry Jasper. And it started for Jerry Jasper in 2003 with the war in Iraq, when he was asked to help design a billboard for a group out in California. He said, every car is a billboard. After that, he said, why not capitalize on that? He claims copyright in the United States as the originator of the graphic design. There's a copyright war history, but I can't get into that because I have to make a point here, and I had to quit chasing tangents, but not before I show you this, because it just caught my eye. That was on his website as well. I had other pages opened about UU, and I wondered if his algorithm kind of tied this into me. So I got to admit, I like it. If you want to know what all those little symbols stand for, we all know the second one. But I had to look up one or two, and the search topic, it also said what goes around comes around there on that page. Oops, did I skip that? Oh, the search topic terms to reach this were listed right above it as well. Love, strength, interfaith. And that's what you might come up with if you were searching those things. So, librarian Connie Brain took over, and I looked for the source of the original. It's a lot less complicated, and perhaps some writers consider, because I read quite a few critiques and reviews about the Coexist message. They say it might be more effective It was created by Peter Mladozinich. I practiced that too this morning. If that was a message for as if that were a message for the last year of the last millennium, in the year 2000, this came out, and it caught fire very quickly. It's simply the symbols you recognize, the three major religions shaped into the word, the crescent moon, the Star of David, and a cross. Mladozinich actually created this sign for a contest it was held by the Museum of the Seam in Jerusalem, it had a theme of coexistence. His creation had a clear message and was easily recognized by his audience. The message is apparent. It's worth mentioning that this Israeli museum is on the Seam, opened in June 1999 in Jerusalem, with this worldwide contest as its first challenge. It's located in the no man's land between Jewish West Jerusalem and that divides Jewish West Jerusalem from Arab East Jerusalem. It's on Route 1 that was defined shortly before the war in 1967 as the border that Palestinians would cross to work in Jewish Jerusalem. So this museum, designed to promote social justice and peace, called itself the Seam. And that to me means stitching pieces together. They may not merge, but they're at least together. This is the building of the Museum on the Seam. This is their message today, 22 years after their original contest. This is their message: raise boys and girls the same way. And this is their message: the old coexist and the new one. I'm sorry, this is not their message. This is Jerry Jasper's message as he developed it. And the meanings are Islam, peace; male-female, Judaism; Wicca, pagan; and also the Baha'i religion; Taoism, Confucianism; and Christianity. And we've had members who espouse many parts of these religions, and some who still come to us to gather together in our community. I think of Carolyn Searcy and the Baha'i religion especially, and all her books she donated to our library. But how did that goal reach our parking lot? Well, we honor it, don't we? But how does it motivate us? I think the message encompasses our UU values. I think for our fellowship, you could add, in order to coexist, we could, before each of our principles, we could recognize the worth and dignity of every person in order to respect it. We could treat each other with dignity and with equity and compassion first. We could respect every single person, no matter who they are or what their personal story entails, in search for their personal truth. We could support, encourage, and practice the democratic process, no matter who you are for. We could work for world peace, liberty, and justice for all, and that means everybody. We could live every day with respect for the interdependent web of life and do all we can to be sure we sustain a living planet. In one article, I read about the meme. A journalist was very critical of the original design. He made the point that these three religions have never coexisted for long. They've all had factions that suppress and mislead their own followers. People being suppressed accept their roles and even help to maintain it. But I think he's recognizing some sects within the major religions in general, and not the message of encouragement to just get along by treating each other kindly, that most sects, most denominations, most groups in each religion support. Even before Rodney King uttered that statement, people were longing for stability and peace, and now that longing seems pretty immediate. It's reached our living rooms and our dinner tables. Years ago, we took our Brazilian exchange son to a holiday dinner back at my South Georgia hometown. This was probably his first trip with us. around Thanksgiving. And perhaps because of his appearance, our host jokingly made a racist remark toward him that absolutely took my breath away for a moment. But our exchange child just affirmed Jim Ed's remark as a joke with a premise that he could accept with honor. My uncle seemed a little surprised, but certainly not altered in his thinking, and he remained a steadfast friend to all of us in the decades that followed. He helped so much when my mother's declining health made us need support 200 miles away, and he was that person. He's always been a friend to us. Supporting family was part of his heritage, along with everything else that shaped him, and me too, growing up and sheltered in that little town. But my world has expanded some, and I've let it change me. I wondered about our exchange child and whether or not this question changed his perspective on our family, our region. Where is the damage when one can joyfully take the sting from a barb? Our new exchange child just softened that sting before it reached his heart. The coexist argument to just get along seems a small step towards softening our hearts. Jasper recognized this fact in his design. Then they added more symbols and 55 translations. So I think I know the people who have that bumper sticker. They're what I've come to think of as my tribe. They gently suggest that we can soften many of the stings we face. We can make a start. But sitting in my car, I find that my biases might stir me to judge other drivers for their passions and their interests if they're different from mine. Am I planning a holiday feast with any of these very different people? Will I meet them and be able to find common ground, or at least a start toward it? How can I turn curiosity about something I'm stuck in traffic pondering because there's nothing else to do while I'm waiting for a light to change, and I'm curious about the person in front of me and that person in the crowd that I walk into? What do I know about you, my ex-stepdaughter-in-law's long-term partner from Wisconsin? I've seen some of these stickers, and I've wondered how on earth I could ever have a conversation with him. I've seen some of his stickers. And then, at a holiday dinner where he was sitting alone, thumbing through his phone, I thought of something to ask him. Have you ever been fishing on one of the Great Lakes? And we had a great talk that drew in some other people, too, and I found out a lot more about a lot more people, and we all had a great discussion about stuff that didn't hurt anybody and kind of made us all feel better. Maybe this is how people coexist in the season of love and sharing. The coexist message quietly becomes a face-to-face action, and it's a big little thing. This holiday dinner exercise to consider the symbols that spell out coexist with our religion of reason, freedom, tolerance, justice, compassion, and love. Our exchange child can say to a joking insult aimed at people of his homeland a couple thousand miles away, "Oh, yes," he said, "aren't we all?" When we see all those symbols from around the world, more recently to include people who might be marginalized because of their identities, it forces us to recognize everyone is our neighbor now in this interdependent web of existence. And do we add a Q? A K? Where does it go? The ones calling our attention to this meme remind the world that existence itself is at stake unless we can change the lumbering constructs of world bureaucracy and aim true energy of justice, compassion, and love toward solutions. That's the seam's big goal, stitching the world back together bit by bit. We turn the tables on anxiety at the tables where we sit with everybody who needs to just get along. We provide the model if we can, and we become the meme. We think about the person next to us for just a moment, and we ask the breakthrough questions whose answers might be stuck all over his car or on his cap or on his T-shirt. What do you care about? For those who think coexist is a bonehead idea, and I know a lot of my relatives do because they are comfortable telling me about it and my squishy cult religion, maybe I can step out of their expectations. Maybe a squishy religion like ours could change assumptions if I start right here with my own assumptions. Reason, tolerance, and freedom, justice, compassion, and love can elevate a simple situation. The guy isolated on a chair in the corner, how are you? Tell me what's happened since last time I saw you. Coexist reminds us of that. It tells the guy with all the patches on his jacket who is meeting us face to face, even if it's just to support his partner, that we are here to let him into our Venn diagram of tribes wherever he fits. We overlap our support of each other in the tradition of family, but also in the tradition of community. We don't have to agree on everything to coexist. Without overthinking it all, I can contribute my best. I can celebrate our connections. And we can laugh a lot because we are free from everything that would have kept us from joy in the season of love. Thank you. So there's time for Q&A.